Okay, I'm gonna show you how I do my Twixter. I have two ways I do Twixter. How I do remap and syncing. So I'm gonna take the clip and then I'm gonna drag into a new comp so that we get the native FPS. And then when there's impact frames, you don't want to like try to Twixter it because it's just too much movement. So like this whole middle section, it's basically untwixterable. You don't want to try Twixtering that. So the parts where I cut, like right here, this segment and the beginning, is Twixtable. So what we want to do for the first method is we want to cut out the dead frames. Okay, once you cut out the dead frames, oh yeah, dead frames are basically just like frames where the character isn't really moving. So then next you want to highlight the bottom, hold shift, click the top, let me just turn off all the sound, and then drag it back so it's one frame. Right click, keyframe assistant, sequence layers, okay. And then next is Control Shift C this, have these settings, and then throw on your Twixter. And the settings I'm going to be using, image prep will be contrast and edge enhance, and the warping will be forward. The next what you want to do is Control Shift C again, make sure this is highlighted, drag that into your comp, your main comp. Control Shift T, drag it out to however long you want it to be. The last frame when you use this method is always going to be wonky, so you want to drag that back down. Okay. Highlight F9 and then just do your graph however you want it. But you will notice there are some warps, but you can fix that by just throwing RSMB. Sometimes it doesn't work all the time, which is why I will get to my next method. Okay, next method, you want to have the whole dead frames cut out of the scene. Then trim your workspace in the comp that you did your Twixter in, and by pressing N at like the last frame, then you want to go to comp, add to render queue, and just render it. Next, you're gonna want to have flow frames downloaded, and once you have it launched, go to interpolation, browse video, and you put your footage in. And then once you have your footage in, you want to go to input FPS and ×8. Okay, once it's done interpolating, you're gonna drag it into your project, then put in a new comp, throw on Twixter Pro, and you just want to change prep to contrast edge enhance, motion weighted blend, and inverse with smart blend. And go back to your main comp and drag and drop it on top. Control Shift T and just drag it out to however long you want it to be. I usually prefer this method just because particles like this are going to be more smooth, like as you can see here. If you were to do this with Twixter, it would warp. And the reason why I choose this method over the other Twixter method would be because with like movements involving particles, smoke, fire, like all that is usually going to be more smooth. But when I'm doing stuff like if there's like fast movement, I usually want to use like the first method, because the tiny bit of warping is going to make it seem like there's more movement than there really is. So yeah. Okay, as for remapping or like syncing or whatever, I usually don't sync to every beat. Sometimes I actually go off sync, and that's like on purpose, because when you go off sync and you finally hit, you know, a beat, it just has more impact, because if you're doing it over and over again, it's kind of like expected. So that's how my syncing, like the way I think of syncing. And as for, you know, just putting the clip together, when there's impact frames, I just don't want to twist it. I'll just leave it as is. I'll copy and paste it, put it in here. And, you know, at this part, there'd be 2 frames where it's just the flame. I just want it to be 1 frame, so I just cut it, move it like this, then go on to the next clip. And my graphs, they usually just look like this. They're pretty normal. I'll just like smooth it out sometimes, just so I get more movement in there. And I depend, like for impact, I don't do impact tweaks. I usually just like have all the impact be in the sound and or the shape. And yeah, that's it.